Mary ran without looking back from her tyrant husband and, sobbing, jumped onto the first random bus. Suddenly an old woman sat down beside her and whispered 3 words that froze her blood. And the next morning, when she turned on the TV, "Hi, my loves. Tell us in the comments where you're listening from. We hope you enjoy the story." Mary was running through the evening city, barely feeling her feet. The pavement felt so uneven it was like she was running across waves. Her heart was pounding somewhere in her throat, wild, desperate, so hard it felt like it was about to burst out, and she would just collapse right there on that empty street. Her face was wet with tears. Her jacket hung off one shoulder, the other side flapping behind her. In her hands was only a small black purse, passport, phone, bank card. Everything she managed to grab when she flew out of the apartment. She didn't know where she was running. She just ran. The only thing that mattered was getting away. As far away as possible. Away from that home. From that man who, just an hour ago, called himself her husband. Her legs carried her forward on their own, past dim shop windows of closed stores, past the few passers-by who turned to stare after her. She probably looked insane. Disheveled, in one low-heeled shoe, the other left somewhere back there at the doorstep. Mary had tripped over it as she ran out, but she didn't go back. She couldn't. One more second and it would have been too late. A door slammed behind her. His voice drunken, furious, twisted with rage. "Stop, you bitch. Where are you going?" But Mary was already racing down the stairs, skipping 2 steps at a time. Her heart felt like it would explode from terror. She knew that voice. She knew exactly what would happen if he caught her. That would be it. The end. She burst outside. The cold October evening slapped her face with a damp wind, but she didn't feel the cold. Only fear. Only the urge to keep running. The light ahead turned red. Mary froze for a second, glancing back over her shoulder. The entrance was behind her. The door wasn't opening. So he didn't catch up. Or hadn't come out yet. Maybe he decided to pour himself another drink. Maybe he just changed his mind about running after her. No. He wouldn't change his mind. Victor never changed his mind. He always finished what he started. She knew that better than anyone. A car drove by, splashing her with water from a puddle. Mary flinched but didn't even look at her wet jeans. What did it matter? What did anything matter now? The green light came on. She rushed across the street, barely checking for cars. Somewhere far away a siren wailed. An ambulance or the police. The city lived its own life while her entire world was collapsing. There was a bus at the corner by the stop. Old, with peeling paint and dull windows. The doors were already closing. The driver was clearly ready to go. "Wait!" Mary shouted, waving her hand. The driver, a tired-looking older man, glanced at her and, with a sigh, opened the doors again. Mary jumped in, nearly tripping on the first step. She tapped her card against the reader with a trembling hand. It beeped. The doors closed behind her with a hiss. The bus pulled away. "Thank you," Mary exhaled, but the driver didn't look at her anymore. He just drove his route, like he'd done it hundreds of times. Mary walked deeper into the bus. It was almost empty. 3 people at most. Late evening, almost 10. Normal people were already home, having dinner, watching TV, getting ready for bed. And she was running to who knows where on a bus whose route she hadn't even checked. She sank into the back seat, all the way in the corner by the window. She hugged her purse to her chest as if it could protect her. Her hands were shaking. Her whole body was shaking. Mary tried to take a deep breath, but the air stuck in her throat, not reaching her lungs. Panic. Real panic. She closed her eyes and rested her forehead against the cold window. City lights flickered past outside. Street lamps, shop signs, traffic lights. Everything blurred through her tears. "Calm down, Mary. Calm down. You're safe. You're far away. He doesn't know where you are. He won't find you." But her heart didn't listen. It kept pounding like crazy. And her mind replayed the same thing over and over again. His face twisted with rage. his hands on her throat, fingers tightening harder and harder until dark circles blurred her vision. "You're not going anywhere, you hear me? Nowhere." His voice rasping, drunk. The reek of alcohol. Mary jerked, trying to break free, but he was stronger. He always was. And then she did something she'd never dared to do before. She hit him. As hard as she could, with her knee, wherever it landed. Victor howled, loosened his grip, and Mary bolted for the door. She grabbed her purse, her jacket, didn't even zip it. And ran. Just ran. Now she was here, on the bus. Alone. Completely alone. Mary opened her eyes and looked at her reflection in the dark glass. Her face swollen from crying, mascara smeared, a bruise showing on her cheekbone. She had tried to cover it with foundation that morning, but now it was clearly visible. Dark purple, almost black around the edges. Yesterday's. From yesterday's fight when he hit her because she supposedly looked at the cashier the wrong way. And today was worse. Today he didn't just hit her. He tried to strangle her. Mary swallowed hard and touched her throat. It hurt. There would definitely be marks. Finger-shaped bruises. What am I supposed to do now? The thought didn't come right away. At first there was only fear, only the urge to escape. But now, as the adrenaline faded, the truth hit her. She had nowhere to go. Her parents? No. They lived in another city, 200 miles away. And she hadn't seen them in almost 2 years. Victor didn't allow it. Why do you need those trips? Your family is me. I'm your husband. You don't need anyone else. Her friends? Mary went through them one by one in her mind. Helen? No, they hadn't spoken in 3 years. Not since Victor made a scene and accused Helen of teaching Mary bad things. Sarah? She moved abroad a year ago. Irene? They only ever talked at work, and Victor had made Mary quit her job 2 years back. Why do you need that job? I make enough money. Stay home and take care of the house. The housework that was never clean enough. The soup that was never tasty enough. The shirts that were never ironed well enough. There was always something to scold her for, always something to hit her for. Mary sobbed and covered her mouth with her hand. She couldn't cry. She couldn't draw attention. People on the bus were already glancing at her. The bus stopped. A man got on with shopping bags. Probably coming back from a store. He sat closer to the exit, not even looking Mary's way. Good. Let him not look. The bus moved again. Outside, the city grew less familiar. Mary didn't recognize these streets. Where was this bus going? To the outskirts? Another district? What did it matter? The only thing that mattered was distance. Her phone vibrated in her purse. Mary flinched and reached for it. The screen lit up with a name. Victor. She went cold. Should she answer? What would he say? Would he start screaming again? Threatening her? The phone kept vibrating. Mary stared at the screen, unable to answer or hang up. Finally, the call ended. A second later, a message appeared. Where are you, you idiot? Come home now. Then another. Mary, I'm not kidding. You coming back yourself, or do I have to pick you up? And another. You'll regret running away. Her hands trembled even worse. Mary turned off the sound and shoved the phone back into her purse. Don't read it. Don't answer. Just don't think about it. But her heart started pounding even harder. He was looking for her. Of course he was. He would never leave her alone. Never. The bus stopped again. An elderly woman got on. Mary looked up and froze for a moment. The woman was about 65, maybe 70. Neat, in a dark blue coat and a knitted scarf. A small bag over her shoulder. Her face gentle, with soft features. Thin framed glasses. Gray hair pinned in a modest bun. An ordinary grandmother. There were thousands like her in the city. Mary turned back to the window, not wanting anyone to study her tear-stained face. Let the old woman sit somewhere up front, near the exit. That's what elderly people usually did. But the woman walked down the entire aisle and sat right next to Mary. Right next to her, in the seat beside her. Even though the bus was almost empty. Even though there were dozens of open seats. Mary tensed. What was this? Why sit here? For a few seconds they rode in silence. Mary could feel the woman looking at her. Not staring, not intrusively, but looking. Observing. It made her uncomfortable. Mary clutched her purse tighter and turned even more toward the window. Maybe the old woman would take the hint and move. Or at least turn away. But she didn't. She stayed. And kept watching. Mary glanced at her from the corner of her eye. Her face calm. Even kind. But there was something in her eyes. A kind of understanding. As if she saw not just a disheveled woman on a bus, but Mary's entire story, all the pain and horror she'd been through. Nonsense. How could a stranger possibly know anything? The bus rocked over bumps. Outside, apartment buildings, scattered streetlights, and dark parks drifted past. Mary didn't recognize the neighborhood. They were far from her apartment now. And then the old woman leaned toward her. Very close. So close Mary caught her scent, a light, old-fashioned cologne women used to wear long ago. And something else. A smell of cleanliness, freshness, something homelike and comforting. She whispered in Mary's ear. Quietly, but clearly. Every word was audible despite the hum of the engine. 3 words. Just 3. He'll kill you. Time stopped. The blood in her veins turned to ice. Mary slowly, very slowly turned her head and stared at the woman. Eyes wide. Mouth slightly open. Her heart. How? How could she know? The old woman was already getting up from her seat. Unhurried, calm, as if she hadn't just said something terrifying. She simply stood, adjusted the strap of her bag on her shoulder, and walked toward the exit. The bus was just pulling up to a stop. The doors opened with the usual hiss. Wait, Mary jerked forward. Where are you from? How did you know? But the woman was already stepping down to the street. Only at the very last moment did she turn back. Just for a second. Her look was strange. Sad and at the same time knowing. As if she had seen this 100 times before. As if she already knew how it would end. Then the doors closed. The bus pulled away. And Mary stayed sitting there, fingers bone white as she clutched her purse. 3 words. He'll kill you. How? How could she know? A stranger. They had ridden together only a few minutes. Mary hadn't even spoken a word to her. But the woman saw. Somehow she saw and understood. The bruise on her cheekbone, the red marks on her neck, the tear-streaked face, the shaking hands. Everything about her screamed that something terrible had happened. And this woman understood. Not just understood. She warned her. He'll kill you. Not might kill you. Not be careful. Exactly that. He'll kill you. As a fact. As something inevitable. Mary pressed her hands to her face. Hot tears broke through her fingers again. Because somewhere deep inside she knew the old woman was right. Today he really had almost strangled her. A little longer and she wouldn't have broken free. And next time? Next time he might go further. Might not stop. Victor always said he loved her. That he did it for her own good. That it was her fault. That she pushed him, made him mad, provoked him. But today there had been no love in his eyes. Only rage. Blind, insane rage. And a hunger to hurt. The bus carried her farther, into the unknown. And in her head, like a spell, those 3 horrible words kept echoing. He'll kill you. A warning. Or a sentence. Mary rode all the way to the last stop without even noticing how she crossed half the city. The driver announced the final stop and she automatically got up from her seat and stepped out into the night. The neighborhood was unfamiliar. The outskirts, old buildings, empty lots between them and a few scattered streetlights. The wind had gotten even colder, slipping under the jacket Mary still hadn't zipped. She stood at the stop, completely lost, with no idea what to do next. She didn't have much money on her card. Maybe $1,500, $2,000 at most. Victor controlled every expense, gave her money only for groceries and household stuff. Why do you need extra? You'll just waste it on nonsense. A hotel would be too expensive. And the passport. If she checked in anywhere, he'd be able to find her. Victor had connections everywhere. He worked at a big company, handled supplies, had people in all kinds of places. If he wanted to, he'd find her. Mary pulled out her phone. 3 more missed calls. All from him. She didn't even open them. Who could she call for help? Her parents. But they were far away. And how would she even explain? Her mom always said, "You chose Victor yourself, so live with it." Every family has problems. Her dad didn't say anything at all, just sighed heavily. They wouldn't understand. They'd decide she was exaggerating, that she needed to be patient and fix things. Friends. Mary mentally went through everyone she used to know. Most had vanished from her life over the last 4 years. Victor knew how to isolate. At first subtly, almost invisibly. That friend of yours, Helen, is a bad influence, always giving you stupid ideas. Then more harshly. If I see you with her again, you'll regret it. But there was one friend she'd had since school. Tanya. They hadn't seen each other for about 3 years, but they used to be really close. Tanya lived. Mary strained her memory. Right. Tanya lived in this area. They'd come visit her once, long ago, at the very beginning, when Victor still pretended to be a normal person. Mary didn't remember the exact address, but she remembered the street name. Maple Street. House number 17? Or 19? There was nothing else she could do. She had no other options. Mary walked along the buildings, squinting at the street signs. It was almost 11 at night, the streets empty. Somewhere in the distance a dog barked, and every now and then a car drove by. She walked for 15, maybe 20 minutes. Her feet hurt. Walking in one shoe was uncomfortable, and she was exhausted. Exhausted from everything. From the fear, the tears, this endless nightmare she'd been living in for the last few years. Maple Street turned out to be quiet, with low buildings and sagging playgrounds. Mary found house number 17. So maybe this one. Or was it 19? She couldn't remember for sure. She tried 17. The entrance door was open. The lock had been broken a long time ago. She went up to the 3rd floor. Apartment 12. Or 14. She stood in front of door 12 and listened. It was quiet behind it. Late evening, people asleep. Or if they weren't, they definitely weren't expecting visitors. Mary froze, unable to bring herself to press the doorbell. What if it wasn't the right place? What if completely different people lived here now? What if Tanya had moved out ages ago? But she had no choice. There was nowhere else to go. She pressed the bell. A long chime sounded inside. Then silence. Mary waited. Pressed it again. Finally, footsteps sounded behind the door. The lock clicked, and the door opened on the chain. "Who is it?" an annoyed female voice asked. "Tanya." "It's me." "Mary." A pause. Then the chain rattled and the door swung open. Tanya stood in the doorway, a little older, in a bathrobe, eyebrows raised in surprise. For a second she just stared at Mary, not understanding. Then her expression changed. "Oh my God, Mary. What happened to you?" Mary opened her mouth, tried to say something, but instead a sob tore from her throat. And she realized she couldn't hold it in any longer. Tanya silently stepped aside, letting her in. Mary crossed the threshold and just collapsed into her friend's arms, sobbing uncontrollably. Everything she'd been holding back for the last few hours, everything that had been building up for months and years, all of it broke loose. She cried like a child, unable to stop. Tanya hugged her tightly, silently. She didn't ask anything. She just held her, stroked her back, letting her cry it all out. No one knew how much time passed. Maybe a minute, maybe 5. Gradually the sobs faded, and Mary started to calm down. "Come on," Tanya said quietly. "Sit down, I'll make you some tea." She led Mary into a tiny kitchen, sat her at the table, and set the kettle on. She did everything in silence, not asking a single question. And Mary was grateful for that silence. When the tea was ready, Tanya set a mug in front of her and sat down across from her. "Your husband?" she asked shortly. Mary nodded without lifting her eyes. "Hit you?" Another nod. Tanya exhaled and shook her head. "I figured as much. When you disappeared from all the chats, I tried calling, texting. You never answered. Then Victor replied from your phone. Said you didn't want to talk anymore. That's when I knew." Mary looked up at her friend. "I'm sorry. I couldn't. He wouldn't let me. He controlled everything. My phone, my messages, my calls. If I talked to anyone, he'd start a fight. Said I was cheating on him, that I had someone. A classic abuser," Tanya said quietly. "We see plenty of that where I work. I'm in social services now, with women who've been through domestic violence." Mary stared at her in surprise. "Really? Really? 3 years now. I've seen all sorts of things. And you know what I'll tell you, Mary? You leaving him is the best decision of your life. A lot of women can't do it. They're scared, they endure it, they hope things will get better. And then it's too late." Tanya's words echoed in Mary's head. Too late. Like those 3 words on the bus. "He'll kill you." "Tanya," Mary gripped the mug with both hands, "today he almost strangled me. I thought that was it, that I was done. But I managed to hit him and run. And on the bus, this strange old lady sat down next to me and said." Her voice shook. "She said he's going to kill me." Tanya looked at her closely. "And she's right, Mary. The statistics are terrifying. Most women who are killed die from domestic violence. Husbands, partners, exes. They don't stop. Each time they push it further. Today it's a slap, tomorrow a beating, then choking. And then." She didn't finish. Mary went cold. So it wasn't just her fear. It was a real threat. "What am I supposed to do?" she whispered. "First, you are not going back there. Under no circumstances. He'll call, text, swear he'll change, swear he loves you. Don't believe a word. He's already calling. And texting. Block him. Don't answer at all. Second, tomorrow you go to the police and file a report. Assault, threats to your life, let them open a case. But I don't have any proof." "You do." Tanya nodded at Mary's face. "The bruise on your cheek. I can see the marks on your neck. Tomorrow we'll go and have everything documented. That'll be on record. Then you file for divorce, for division of property. And the most important thing, a restraining order. So he can't come near you." Mary listened, and something like hope stirred in her chest. Maybe there really was a way out. Maybe she wasn't alone. "And where will I live?" she asked. "I don't have anything. I've got almost no money. No job. You'll stay here with me for now. There's a couch in the room, and we'll find you work. You're not the only one, Mary. A lot of women go through this. And a lot of them get out." Tears rose in her throat again, but this time not from despair, from gratitude. "Thank you, Tanya. Thank you. Oh, come on. What are friends for?" Tanya got up, opened a cabinet, pulled out a blanket and a pillow. "Make yourself comfortable on the couch. Sleep, rest. And tomorrow we'll start sorting things out." Mary lay down on the couch and pulled the blanket over herself. The apartment was warm, quiet, safe. For the first time in many months, she felt safe. But she couldn't fall asleep. Thoughts kept spinning in her head. What would happen tomorrow? What would Victor say when he realized she wasn't coming back? Would he find her here? She remembered the old woman on the bus. That strange, calm woman who somehow knew. How had she figured it out? From one look, in just a few minutes? He'll kill you. Those words were supposed to scare her. And they had. But now, lying in the warmth of a stranger's but safe apartment, Mary realized it hadn't been a curse. It was a warning. A chance. One last chance to get out before it was too late. And she'd taken it. She'd run. She'd saved herself. And tomorrow a new life would begin. Hard, scary, uncertain, but hers. Without beatings, without shouting, without the constant fear that at any moment a tyrant could burst through the door. Mary closed her eyes. Sleep slowly washed over her like a heavy, warm wave. And when she woke up, it was already morning. Bright October sunlight was breaking through the curtains. The apartment smelled like coffee and something else, freshly baked pastries, maybe? Mary sat up on the couch and looked around. An unfamiliar room. For a second she was confused, not understanding where she was. Then she remembered. Tanya. She was at Tanya's. Her friend peeked out from the kitchen. "You're up? Go wash your face, I'll pour you some coffee. And there are rolls." Mary got up and went into the tiny bathroom. She looked at herself in the mirror and flinched. Her face was puffy, her eyes bloodshot, the bruise on her cheek even darker. Violet marks from his fingers stood out clearly on her neck. The horror of last night was written all over her face. She splashed cold water on her skin, trying to tidy herself up. But you can't hide bruises. And maybe she shouldn't. If she was going to the police, they needed to see what happened. She went back to the kitchen and sat at the table. Tanya put a mug of coffee and a plate of rolls in front of her. "Eat. You need your strength. Today's going to be a hard day." Mary obediently took a bite of a roll. It was tasty, homemade. When was the last time she'd eaten anything homemade that was made with care, not out of fear of a fight? "Tanya, aren't you afraid he'll find me here? That he'll show up and make a scene?" Tanya calmly took a sip of coffee. "He doesn't know where you are. And anyway, my brother lives one floor up. Big guy, does boxing. If anything happens, he'll help. Don't worry." But Mary was worried. The fear sat inside her, cold and heavy. Tanya seemed to notice. "Listen, Mary, I know how scary this is. Leaving an abuser is always terrifying. But the most dangerous time is the first few weeks, when he hasn't accepted it yet and is still trying to get control back. Then it loosens. Not right away, but it does. And if it doesn't? Then there's the law. There's the police. There are protective measures. You just have to do everything right." They finished breakfast in silence. Then Tanya checked the time. "Okay. It's 10. Get dressed. First we're going to the ER so they can document the injuries. Then to the police so you can file a report. Then to the lawyer to start the divorce." "I don't have any money for a lawyer," Mary said quietly. "He'll be free. Our center has legal aid for domestic violence survivors. We'll take care of it." Mary nodded, feeling something new start to flicker inside her. Not fear. Not despair. Something else. Resolve, maybe. She got up, went to the room, and put on yesterday's jacket. She looked at her phone. 10 missed calls from Victor. Several messages. The last one had been sent an hour ago. "Mary, stop acting crazy. Come home. I'm not mad. I just want to talk." Classic. First threats, then fake apologies. Mary blocked his number and turned off her phone. They went outside. October greeted them with a cold wind and a low gray sky. Mary shivered and pulled her jacket tighter. The ER was nearby, about a 10-minute walk. They went in. The waiting room wasn't too crowded. Mary sat on a hard chair and waited. Next to her was a woman with a child. A boy of about 5 with his arm in a bandage. Farther down sat an older man with a swollen leg. Just an ordinary city hospital, just an ordinary morning. Someone was called in from the doctor's office. Not Mary. She waited longer. About 20 minutes passed. Finally they called her. The doctor, a middle-aged woman in a white coat, looked Mary over with a detached expression. What happened? She was beaten, Tanya answered quietly from behind Mary. Domestic violence. The doctor nodded, not even surprised. Clearly not her first case. Take off your top and show me. Mary took off her jacket and sweater. There were bruises on her neck, on her shoulders, where Victor had grabbed her yesterday, trying to hold her down. The doctor silently examined her and wrote something in the chart. She took photos with a medical camera. Cheekbone is bruised. Neck has hematomas from strangulation, visible finger marks. Multiple contusions on the shoulders. Time frame is about 12 to 15 hours. She looked up at Mary. This happened last night? Yes, Mary croaked. Have you filed a police report? Not yet. We're going there now. The doctor nodded and held out a paper. Medical examination report. Take it. You'll need it. Mary took the document with trembling hands. There it was, an official paper. Proof that this wasn't just a little fight, like Victor always called their arguments. This was a crime. They left the ER. Next stop, the police. The station was 2 blocks away. A dull gray building with a sign that read Portland Police Department. Mary stopped at the entrance, unable to step in. Come on, Tanya encouraged her. I'm with you. They went inside. The front desk. A young officer sat behind the counter, flipping through some papers. Hello, Tanya stepped up first. We need to file a report. Assault, threats to life. The officer looked up from the documents and glanced at Mary. He saw the bruises and nodded. Come on through. A detective will see you. They were shown into a small office. Behind the desk sat a man of about 45 in uniform with a tired face. Detective Peterson, according to the nameplate. Have a seat, he said. I'm listening. Mary sat down, fingers laced tightly together. I want to file a report against my husband. He beat me. Last night. Tried to strangle me. Peterson picked up his pen and pulled the form closer. Tell me everything from the beginning. Name, last name, address of residence. Mary started talking. Slowly, stumbling over words, but she talked. She told him how it started. How Victor gradually cut her off from everyone. How he made her quit her job. How he started hitting her. At first rarely, then more and more often. How she was afraid to leave, afraid he'd find her. And how last night he grabbed her by the throat and squeezed until she began to black out. Peterson wrote it all down, nodding every now and then. When Mary finished, he leaned back in his chair. Do you have a medical report? Mary handed him the document from the ER. Good. I'll take your statement and open a case. We'll call your husband in for questioning. But you understand this isn't fast. Investigation, court. I understand. But I need there to be an official case. So he can't say nothing happened. There will be. Peterson slid the form toward her. Sign here. And here. Mary signed. Her hands were shaking so badly her signature came out crooked. One more thing, Tanya added. Can we get a restraining order? So he can't come near her? You can, but that's through the court. File a request, attach our case. If the judge approves it, they'll issue the order. Thank you, Mary said quietly. They walked out of the station. The sky was overcast, a fine drizzle starting to fall. Well, that's it, Tanya put an arm around Mary's shoulders. The scariest part is over. Now it's up to the lawyer. They got on a bus and headed downtown, to the crisis center where Tanya worked. Mary watched the streets slide by outside the wet sidewalks, people with umbrellas, ordinary city life. And in her head, she kept hearing it, he'll kill you. But she had left. She'd managed to leave. In time. Thanks to that strange old woman who had whispered 3 words. Who was she? How did she know? Mary decided that someday she would find her. Thank her. Because that woman might have saved her life. The crisis center was in an old 2-story building on a quiet street. The sign was modest, easy to miss. Center for Psychological Support. Mary would never have imagined she'd end up in a place like this. Inside it was clean, and it smelled like fresh coffee and flowers of some kind. The lobby had soft chairs, and the walls were covered with posters listing helplines and information about support for abuse survivors. "Wait here a minute," Tanya said. "I'll let our lawyer know you're here." Mary sat down in one of the chairs and looked around. In the next chair sat a young woman holding a little girl of about 3. The woman's face was pale, her eyes red. She looked like she was here for help too. Their eyes met for a second. The woman gave her a weak smile, and Mary nodded back. A silent sense of solidarity and understanding without words. They were both here. Both in trouble. Both looking for a way out. "Mary," Tanya came back, "Patricia can see you." They walked down the hallway and entered a small office. Behind the desk sat a woman of about 50, in a business suit, with short hair and sharp gray eyes. She stood up and held out her hand. "Hello. Patricia Anderson, the center's attorney. Please, have a seat." Mary sat down, feeling awkward. It was the first time in her life she'd ever sat in front of a lawyer. She'd always thought lawyers were something distant, not for ordinary people. "Tanya told me the basics of your situation," Patricia began. "Domestic violence, physical abuse, threats. You filed a report with the police?" "Yes. Just now. Here's a copy." Mary handed her the paper. The lawyer skimmed the document and nodded. "Good. Now we'll file for divorce." "How long have you been married?" 4 years. Almost 5. "Any children together?" "No." "Joint property?" "Accounts?" "An apartment. But it's in his name. He bought it before the wedding. I'm just registered there." "I see. So legally there's basically no property you can claim?" "No," Mary said quietly. "I haven't even been able to work for the last 2 years. He forbade it." Patricia wrote something in her notebook. "That matters too. Financial abuse. Cutting you off from income. We can use all of that in court. As for a restraining order, we'll file the petition. Usually the court reviews these quickly, within a week or 2. If it's granted, your husband won't be allowed to come closer than 100 meters to you. And if he breaks it, then it's a criminal offense. Threat to life. Plus administrative charges for violating the order. A fine or even up to 15 days in jail." Mary listened, trying to remember everything. So many legal terms, so many papers. But the main thing was there was a plan now. Concrete steps. Not just you need to do something, but clear actions. "One more question," Patricia said. "Where are you staying right now?" "At a friend's." "For now." "Good. Try to find a more permanent place as soon as you can. A rented room, anything. And a job. You need financial independence. Otherwise he'll use that to control you." "I understand. But where do I even look for a job? My resume's outdated. My experience. Start with something simple. Sales clerk, cashier, cleaner. Yes, it's not glamorous. But it's money. Your own money. And from there, we'll see. A lot of women start that way. Then they move on to something better." Mary nodded. She was ready to take any job. As long as she didn't depend on Victor. They spent another 20 minutes going over the details. Patricia made a list of documents Mary needed to gather. Marriage certificate, passport, medical report, police statement. All of it for the divorce filing. "Come back the day after tomorrow," Patricia said as they wrapped up. "I'll have the petition ready, and we'll file it with the court. It's going to be okay. The main thing is don't give up." Mary walked out of the office feeling like, for the first time in years, she had something solid under her feet. People who were on her side. Who helped her without judging, without asking, "So what did you do wrong?" "Well," Tanya checked the time, "it's 1 p.m. Let's grab some lunch somewhere, then we'll go back to my place. You need to rest." They went into a small cafe nearby. Mary ordered soup and tea. She ate slowly, almost not tasting it. She was still in shock, still couldn't fully believe this was really happening. "Tanya," she suddenly said, "how am I supposed to live now? I don't even remember who I am. Who am I without him? These last years, everything revolved around him. His moods, his wants. I forgot what I like, what I want." Tanya covered Mary's hand with her own. "That's normal. A lot of women say that. Abusers erase your personality. Turn you into a shadow, an attachment. But you'll find yourself again. Slowly. You'll start with small things. Choosing what to wear, what to eat, where to go. Without being afraid someone's going to yell at you or hit you. And every day it gets a little easier." "You really think so?" "I know so. I've seen dozens of women go through this. And you know what? Most of them later say leaving was the best decision of their lives. Yes, it's scary. Yes, it hurts. But then comes freedom. Real freedom." Mary wanted to believe that. Wanted to with everything she had. They finished lunch and stepped outside. The rain had stopped, and the sun peeked out. October sun, weak but still. By the time they got back to Tanya's, it was around 3 in the afternoon. Mary went straight to the room and lay down on the couch. Exhaustion hit her like lead. Physical and emotional. Her body hurt, bruises, aches. Her soul hurt even more. She closed her eyes and almost immediately fell into a heavy sleep. She woke up to the sound of the TV. Tanya was in the kitchen, watching some show. Mary got up and went in. "You've been out for about 3 hours," Tanya said. "Want some tea?" "Yeah." Mary sat down at the table and wrapped her hands around a hot mug of tea. Tanya flipped the channel. The news came on. And Mary froze. On the screen was a report from a crime scene. An apartment building, police cars, yellow tape. The reporter spoke into the camera. "The incident took place last night around 11 p.m. in one of the buildings in the West Side neighborhood. According to police, a 38-year-old man in a state of severe alcohol intoxication broke into an apartment on the 4th floor. Apparently, he went to the wrong floor and, mistaking the apartment's owner for his wife, began beating her. The woman, 36-year-old Ellen K., sustained multiple injuries, including a concussion and a broken jaw. She is currently in intensive care in critical condition. The attacker was detained at the scene. According to neighbors, the man was shouting, 'You think you can get away from me? I'll show you what happens when you run.' A criminal case has been opened for aggravated assault." The blood drained from Mary's face. She couldn't move, couldn't breathe. West Side neighborhood. That was where she lived. 4th floor. Her apartment was on the 5th. Last night. At 11. Exactly when she ran. Wrong floor. Mistook her for his wife. "Oh my God," Tanya whispered, staring at the screen. "Mary, that's him," Mary forced out, hoarse. "That's Victor. He was looking for me. Drunk. Broke into the wrong apartment. Beat that woman up because he thought she was me." Her hands shook so hard the tea sloshed over the table. The mug slipped from her fingers and rolled across the floor. "If I'd been home. If I'd gone back." Mary couldn't finish. That could have been her. In the ICU. With broken bones. Or worse. Much worse. Tanya grabbed her and held her tight so she wouldn't collapse. "You didn't go back. You left. You saved yourself." "That old woman," Mary sobbed. "She said, 'He'll kill you.' She knew. Somehow she knew. Maybe she's just intuitive. Maybe she's seen it before. I don't know. But she was right. And you listened." The report went on. They showed a photo of the attacker. Blurred, but Mary recognized him. Victor. Disheveled, drunk, his face twisted with anger. A monster. He had always been a monster. She just hadn't wanted to see it. Or had been too afraid to admit it. And that woman. The one he attacked. Will she make it? Mary whispered. I don't know. They said she's in critical condition. Guilt crashed down on her like a stone. Because of her. That woman suffered because of her. If Mary had been home, this wouldn't have happened. Stop, Tanya said sharply, as if reading her mind. This is not your fault. You are not responsible for having an abusive husband. You are not responsible for him showing up drunk and beating someone. That's on him. Only him. Logically, Mary understood that. But inside, the guilt still scratched and clawed. They sat there for a long time, watching the news repeat the same segment over and over. Then Tanya turned the TV off. Enough. No more torturing yourself. Let's make dinner. But Mary couldn't eat. Her throat closed up with a fresh wave of tears. She thought about that woman lying in intensive care. How terrified she must have been. How much pain she must be in. And how that could have been Mary herself. Tanya, Mary suddenly said, I need to find that old woman. The one from the bus. I have to thank her. She saved my life. But how are you going to find her? You don't even know who she is. I know the bus route. I know the stop where she got off. I'll start there. I'll ask the drivers, the conductors. Someone has to know her. Tanya thought for a moment. It might not be easy. But if you need this, then we'll try. Together. Mary nodded. Yes, she needed it. Not just to say thank you, but to understand. How had that woman known? What had she seen that others didn't? Maybe she could help others too. Warn them. Mary sat on the couch, hugging her knees, staring at one spot. Thinking about a lot of things. About how she'd ended up like this. Why she stayed. Why she didn't leave earlier. Victor hadn't always been like that. At the beginning he'd been charming, attentive. Brought her flowers, paid her compliments, took care of her. Mary fell in love fast. She thought she'd found her person. The wedding had been small. Just the ceremony at City Hall and a modest dinner. Mary's parents came in from another city, happy their daughter was marrying, as they thought, a good man. The first few months were fine. Even good. Victor worked, Mary worked too. They rented an apartment and talked about buying their own. Then the little things started. At first they were barely noticeable. Why are you dressed like that? It's too revealing. That friend of yours is a bad influence, stop hanging out with her. Why didn't you pick up the phone for so long? Who were you with? Mary explained, made excuses. She thought it was normal jealousy, that this was how care showed itself. Then the jealousy turned pathological. Victor checked her phone, read her messages, demanded a report for every minute. You're my wife. I have the right to know where you are and with whom. Mary obeyed. Because she loved him. Because she was afraid of fights. The first hit happened over something stupid. Mary forgot to buy his favorite beer. Victor came home from work tired, wanted to relax. Saw there was no beer and exploded. First he yelled. Then he threw the remote at the wall. Then he swung and hit her in the face. Once. With his open hand. Mary froze in shock. Not from the pain the hit wasn't even that hard. But from the fact that it happened at all. Victor came to his senses right away. He hugged her, started apologizing. I'm sorry, baby. I didn't mean to. I'm just really tired. My nerves are shot. I'm sorry, please. It'll never happen again. And Mary forgave him. Because he cried. Because he swore it would never happen again. But it did. A month later. Then again. Each time more often. And harder. Victor made her quit her job. Why do you need that job? I make enough. Stay home and take care of the house. Mary resisted, but weakly. Because by then she was already afraid. Afraid of his anger. Without a job, she became completely dependent. She had no money of her own. Victor gave her cash for groceries, but demanded receipts for every cent. Her friends disappeared from her life one by one. Victor always found a reason to pick a fight with each of them. Mary stopped inviting anyone over, stopped going anywhere herself. Her parents called rarely. Mary never told them the truth. She was ashamed. She was scared. They just say, you chose him, you deal with it. And so 4 years passed. 4 years in a cage. In constant fear, humiliation, pain. And yesterday he almost killed her. And would have, if not for that old woman. 3 words. He'll kill you. It was like a slap in the face. Like a bucket of cold water. A sudden moment of clarity. Mary suddenly saw herself from the outside. Saw what she'd become. A frightened, broken woman who didn't even remember who she used to be. And she understood if she didn't leave now, she never would. Next time could be the last. That's why she ran. Without thinking, without packing. She just grabbed her purse and ran. And now, sitting on someone else's couch, she understood it was the best decision she'd made in her life. Mary, you awake? Tanya peeked into the room. Yeah. I'm thinking. About what? About how to live now. Where to even start? Tanya came over and sat down beside her. You know what I'll tell you? Don't think on a global scale. Don't try to plan everything at once. Just take it step by step. Tomorrow you wake up, that's already a victory. You get up, get dressed, eat breakfast, that's another victory. And so on, day by day. Little steps. They add up to a path. And if I can't handle it, you will. Because you've already handled the scariest part. You left. That's the hardest thing. Everything after that is easier. Mary wanted to believe that. And a part of her already did. The night was restless. Mary slept in snatches, waking from nightmares. In her dreams, Victor caught up with her, grabbed her by the throat, choked her. She woke up in a cold sweat, gasping for air. Tanya got up several times, brought her water, calmed her down. It's normal. Post-traumatic stress. It'll pass. Not right away, but it will. Toward morning, Mary finally slipped into a deep sleep. She woke up late, around 10. Tanya was in the kitchen making breakfast. Morning. How'd you sleep? Nightmares, Mary admitted honestly. But it's okay. I'll survive. They had breakfast. Tanya started getting ready for work. What are you going to do today? I want to start looking for that old woman. I'll take the same bus route and ask around. You want me to come with you? No, you go to work. I can handle it. Tanya gave her a doubtful look, but nodded. Okay. Just be careful. Keep your phone on. If anything happens, call me right away. I will. Mary got dressed and went outside. The day was clear and cold. She walked to the bus stop and got on the same route she'd taken 2 nights before. Only now it was daylight, full of people, everything looked different. Mary sat by the window and watched the stops, trying to remember where the old woman had gotten off. She passed several stops. No, not here. Farther. Finally she recognized it. This one. Old houses, a small park nearby. She remembered that park. Mary got off and looked around. What now? How to search? She went back to the stop and waited for the next bus on the same route. When it pulled up, she got on and went to the driver. Hi. Sorry, can I ask you something? The driver, an older man with a gray mustache, glanced at her. Go ahead. Have you been on this route long? About 15 years. Then maybe you know. An older woman. About 65, 70. Neat, wears glasses. She takes this bus a lot, gets off at this stop. The driver frowned, thinking. There are a lot like that. You'll have to be more specific. Well, she's very proper, I guess. Wears a dark blue coat. Gray hair and a bun. Oh, the driver nodded. You mean Dorothy, maybe? Lives over on Oak Avenue, in the private houses. She rides into town a lot, to the library. Mary's heart started pounding faster. Dorothy. Where exactly on Oak Avenue? Just head that way, the driver waved his hand. 10 minutes on foot and you'll hit the private sector. Ask around, everyone knows her. She's been there for years. Thank you so much. Mary stepped off the bus and walked in the direction he'd shown her. Her heart was hammering with nerves. What if she really found her? The private houses started about 10 minutes later. Small homes with front yards, fences, dogs barking behind them. Quiet, peaceful. Mary stopped a woman carrying shopping bags. Excuse me, do you know where Dorothy lives around here? The woman gave her a suspicious once-over. Dorothy who? An older lady. Gray hair. Glasses. Oh, her, the woman pointed. Over there. Third house from the corner, blue fence. But I don't know if she's home. Thank you. Mary walked on. She found the house with the blue fence. Small and tidy. The front yard still had a few late autumn flowers. She stood at the gate, hesitating. What if it wasn't the right woman? What if she was making a mistake? But it was too late to back out now. She'd come too far to find her. Mary opened the gate and walked up to the door. Knocked. Footsteps sounded inside. The door opened. She was standing there. The same old woman from the bus. Dorothy stood in the doorway, her face filled with surprise. She looked at Mary for a few seconds in silence, then slowly nodded, as if something had just clicked. The girl from the bus, she said softly. I remember you. Mary didn't know how to start. The words were stuck in her throat. She just stood there, staring at the woman who had spoken 3 words 2 nights ago and turned her life upside down. Come in, Dorothy stepped aside. Don't stand out there on the porch. It's cold. Mary crossed the threshold. Inside, the house was cozy and old-fashioned. Wooden furniture, crocheted doilies on the tables, bookshelves up to the ceiling. It smelled like something homemade, maybe pies, or maybe just that special scent old people's houses have, where everything has its place and every object has lived a long life. Take your coat off, sit down, the old woman said, motioning to an armchair by the table. Want some tea? Thank you, Mary whispered. She took off her jacket and sat down. Her hands were trembling. Dorothy went to the kitchen and came back with a teapot and 2 cups. She poured the tea and sat across from her. For a few minutes they sat in silence. Mary wrapped her hands around the hot cup, trying to warm up. Even though the house was warm, she still felt cold inside. You found me, Dorothy finally broke the silence. So you must have had a reason. I wanted to thank you, Mary looked up. You saved my life. The old woman took a sip of tea and shook her head. I didn't do anything. I just said 3 words. But those words, they made me see. Understand. I ran away that same night. And her voice shook. The next day I saw the news. My husband, he came looking for me. Drunk. Broke into the wrong apartment, went to the wrong floor. Beat a woman, thinking she was me. Dorothy nodded, but there was no surprise on her face. As if she already knew. Or had expected something like that. I saw that report, she said quietly. Thought to myself, could that be the girl from the bus? But I hoped you'd manage to get away. I did. Thanks to you. If it weren't for your words, I might have gone back. Or hesitated. And then you'd be the one in the ICU. Or worse. Mary swallowed hard. Yeah. Or worse. A lot worse. How did you know? She asked. How did you understand that he was going to kill me? We didn't even talk. You just sat down next to me, looked at me, and... Dorothy finished her tea and set the cup on the table. She took off her glasses, wiped them on the edge of her sweater, put them back on, then gave Mary a long, focused look. I worked for 30 years as a psychologist in a crisis center for women, she began slowly. For 30 years I saw women like you. Hundreds, maybe thousands. Victims of domestic violence. Some came on their own. Some were brought in by friends, neighbors, relatives. And some never made it to us. Because they didn't have time. Their husbands or partners killed them first. Mary listened, hardly breathing. You know, after so many years I learned how to see. Just see. A certain look. A certain way of holding yourself. Bruises, even when someone tries to hide them under makeup. Fear in the eyes you can't cover up. Shaking hands. The way she sits hunched over, trying to take up as little space as possible, like she's afraid even her presence might make someone angry. Mary flinched. Every word was about her. Exactly her. When I saw you on that bus, Dorothy went on, I knew right away. Tear-streaked face, panic in your eyes, clothes thrown on in a hurry, a bruise on your cheek. But most of all, it was your eyes. There was panic in them. Pure animal fear. You can't fake that, you can't hide it. I've seen it way too many times. And you decided to warn me. Yes. Because I knew if you went back, he'd kill you. Maybe not right away. Maybe in a week, a month. But he would. They all say the same things. I didn't mean to, she pushed me, I lost control. But the truth is, violence always escalates. It starts with control, then moves on to insults, then to beatings. And it ends. She didn't finish, but Mary understood anyway. Why didn't you say more? Try to talk to me, explain? Dorothy smiled sadly. Because long speeches don't work. When someone is in shock and panic, they don't hear logical arguments. But 3 short words, they cut through the noise. They sink into the subconscious. They start working. He'll kill you. Not might kill you. Not be careful. Exactly that. He'll kill you. As a fact. Because that's what it is. The statistics don't lie. Mary stayed quiet, turning it over in her mind. So it hadn't been some random thing. Not some mystical insight. Just experience. Long, bitter experience working with domestic violence survivors. You didn't just save me, did you? She asked softly. There were others. There were. Dorothy nodded. It didn't always work. Some still went back to their abusers. Believed the promises, believed things would change. Hoped. But some left. Started a new life. And those cases, they're worth it. For them I still. Dorothy trailed off and looked out the window. Still what? Still ride around the city. Watch. Sometimes I see women who need help. And if I have time, I say something. 3 words or more, doesn't matter. The important thing is to give them a push. Sometimes a person just needs someone from the outside to say out loud what she already knows, but is afraid to admit. Mary felt tears sting her eyes. Sitting in front of her was just an ordinary elderly woman. Retired, living alone in a small house. She could be staying home, knitting, watching TV shows, walking in the park. But instead she rode around the city trying to save strangers. Just because she could. Because she knew how. Thank you, Mary whispered. Thank you so much. I don't know what would have happened to me if it weren't for you. Dorothy reached across the table and covered Mary's hand with her palm. You did well by leaving. Many can't. They're scared, ashamed. Don't know where to go. But you found the strength. My friend helped me. She works at a crisis center. Took me in, brought me to a lawyer, to the police. There you go. You're not alone. That's important to understand. No one is alone in this. There are people who will help. You just have to ask. They talked for a long time. Dorothy told her about her work. About the women she'd seen over those 30 years. About those who managed to break free from toxic relationships and build new lives. And about those who didn't. The stories were awful, heartbreaking, the kind that made your blood run cold. You know what the hardest part of my job was, she said. Not the physical injuries. Not the bruises and broken bones, though those are awful too. It's the psychological damage. A shattered personality. A woman who no longer remembers who she is. Who's used to living in constant fear, constantly adjusting herself to a tyrant's mood, having no opinions of her own. Fixing that takes a long time. Sometimes it takes years. Mary nodded. She was already feeling it herself. Even now, with Victor far away, with her finally safe, the fear hadn't gone anywhere. It sat inside her, quiet but stubborn. Fear that he would find her, drag her back by force, do something even worse. Will it go away? She asked. The fear? It will. Not right away. Little by little. Each day it'll be a tiny bit easier. The main thing is your environment. You need people who'll support you, not judge you. And, probably, a therapist. To work through the trauma. My friend said the same thing. She's a smart friend. Listen to her. Dorothy stood, went to the bookshelf, and took down a few books. Here. Take these. Read them. They're about abusive relationships, about recovery after trauma. They help me in my work. Maybe they'll be useful to you. Mary took the books. 3 or 4, with worn covers, clearly well read. Thank you. I'll definitely read them. And one more thing. Dorothy came back to the table and wrote something on a slip of paper. Here's the number of another crisis center. My former colleague Margaret works there. She's a good therapist. If you need help, call. Tell her I sent you. Mary slipped the paper into her pocket. Her chest felt warm. For the first time in many days, maybe years, she felt like she wasn't alone. That there were people on her side. Strangers, but willing to help. They talked a bit more about practical things. About how Mary could look for work, where to rent a place, how to file for divorce. Dorothy gave advice calmly, without lecturing. She was just sharing what she knew. And that woman, Mary suddenly asked, the one my husband beat up. Have you heard anything? Did she make it? Dorothy nodded. She got out of intensive care the day before yesterday. I read about it in the news. Serious injuries, but she'll live. And your husband was arrested. They opened a case for aggravated assault. It's a serious charge, 5 to 10 years. So he's in prison? He's in custody now. Waiting for trial. If he's found guilty, yes, he'll be in for a long time. Mary didn't know what to feel. Relief? Yes, a bit. He wouldn't be able to get to her while he was locked up. But also guilt. For the woman who'd been hurt basically because of her. Stop blaming yourself, Dorothy said, as if reading her mind. He's the only one at fault. Not you. You didn't make him drink. You didn't make him hit someone. That's his choice. His responsibility. But if I'd been home. If you'd been home, he would have beaten you. Maybe killed you. And who would be to blame then? You again? For going back? No. The only person at fault is the one who raises a hand against someone else. Always. Yeah. Mary wiped her tears and nodded. Logically, she understood. But the guilt still gnawed at her from the inside. They stayed there for another hour. Dorothy shared more stories from her practice. Not all of them were dark, some were bright. About women who really had started over. Who built new lives, met good men, had children, became happy. Here, look. She pulled a photo out of her desk drawer. This is Linda. She came to me 8 years ago. Her husband had been beating her for 5 years. She left, filed for divorce. We helped her with housing, with a job. 2 years later she married a good man. Here she is with their kids. In the photo was a young woman with 2 little kids and a man. All of them smiling, happy. She still writes to me sometimes, Dorothy said warmly. Sends holiday greetings. Thanks me. But really, I'm the one who's grateful. Grateful she found the strength to keep living. Mary looked at the photo and wondered if she could ever have something like that. If she could ever be happy again. You can, Dorothy said, once again seeming to read her thoughts. You absolutely can. Just give yourself time. Don't rush. First, heal your wounds. Then learn how to live again. Then maybe you'll meet someone. Or maybe you won't. And that's okay too. The important thing is to be yourself. Whole and free. Mary nodded, feeling something like hope start to glow inside her. By the time she got ready to leave, it was already getting dark. Dorothy walked her to the gate. "Come by again," she said. "If you need help or just want to talk. I'm always home in the evenings." "Thank you. I will." Mary hugged her. Suddenly, tightly. This woman was practically a stranger, but she'd done more for her than many people close to her ever had. Dorothy hugged her back and gently patted her on the back. "It's going to be okay, Mary. You'll see." Mary walked back to the bus stop. The evening was cold, but not as damp and bone-chilling as 2 nights ago. Or maybe it just felt warmer inside. She rode the bus and thought about her conversation with Dorothy. About how many women had passed through her hands. How many lives she'd saved. And no one knew about it. No awards, no big newspaper articles. Just quiet, invisible work. Riding around the city, watching, finding the ones who were hurting, and saying 3 words. "He'll kill you." Or other words. Whatever was needed. And then those women left their abusers. Started new lives. And maybe they didn't always realize that this random conversation on a bus or on the street had been the turning point. But Mary understood. And she was grateful. When she got back to Tanya's, her friend was already home, making dinner. "Well, did you find her?" "I did." Mary sat down at the table and started telling her everything. Tanya listened carefully, nodding now and then. "Wow. 30 years in a crisis center. And she's still helping. She's a saint." "Yeah. The real deal." They had dinner, then sat in the kitchen drinking tea. Tanya talked about her day at work. Just regular office stories, nothing special. But Mary liked listening. It felt so normal. An ordinary evening, an ordinary conversation. No yelling, no fear, no need to tiptoe around someone's moods. "You know, Tanya," Mary said suddenly, "I've been thinking. Maybe someday, when I get back on my feet, maybe I can help someone too. Other women in the same situation." Tanya looked at her with interest. "You want to volunteer at the crisis center?" "I don't know. Maybe. Or just share my story. Tell them there is a way out. That they don't have to put up with it. That they can leave and still have a life." That's a great idea. It really helps people when they see someone who's already been through it. Someone who's living proof that life after an abuser is possible. Mary nodded. It wasn't just a thought. It was a decision. Someday, when she dealt with her own demons, she'd help others. That would be her way of saying thank you to Dorothy, to Tanya, and to everyone who'd stood by her during this awful time. The night went more smoothly. Mary slept almost without nightmares, woke up only once, and quickly fell back asleep. In the morning, Tanya went off to work again, and Mary stayed home. It was time to start looking for a job. She opened Tanya's laptop and went to job sites. Sales associate. Cashier. Cleaner. Waitress. Receptionist. Tons of postings, but most wanted experience Mary didn't have. At least, not recent experience. She started sending resumes. 1, 2, 3. She wrote about the job she had before Victor made her quit. Work in a store, then in an office as an assistant manager. Nothing special, but at least something. By evening she got a reply. 1. A clothing store was looking for a sales assistant. They invited her for an interview the next day at 10 a.m. Mary was thrilled. First step. A small one, but still. The next day she got up early and dressed neatly. Tanya lent her a blouse so she'd look more presentable. The bruise on her face had already faded, she could hide it with foundation. The marks on her neck were almost gone too. The store was in a mall on the outskirts of town. Mary arrived 10 minutes early so she wouldn't be late. She went in and approached the front desk. "Hi, I'm here for the interview." "Mary." "Oh, right, come on back. That room over there, door on the left." Mary went in. A small room, with a woman of about 40 sitting at a desk. Probably the store manager. "Hi, have a seat. I'm Jessica. Tell me about yourself." Mary told her. Short and to the point, no extra details. About her previous jobs, her sales experience, the fact that she was job hunting after a long break. Jessica listened, asked a few questions, then nodded. Okay. You've got experience, that's the main thing. Are you ready to work from 10 to 7, 6 days a week? Yes. Salary is $2,000 plus commission on sales. That work for you? Yes. Then start tomorrow. Bring your documents, we'll put everything through officially. Mary couldn't believe her ears. She'd gotten the job. Just like that, after a 10-minute conversation. Thank you, she exhaled. Thank you so much. She walked out of the store almost euphoric. A job. Her own money. The first step toward independence. She called Tanya and told her. Tanya was thrilled, congratulated her. See? It's working out. I told you. It is, Mary echoed. And for the first time, she smiled for real. That night they celebrated with a simple dinner. Tanya bought a cake, they drank tea and talked about the future. Now we need to find you a place to live, Tanya said. Some cheap room. I'll start looking after my first paycheck. I'll rent something. Don't rush. Stay with me for now. A month or two. Save up for a deposit and a cushion. Are you sure? I feel like I'm in the way. You're not. I actually like it. It's less lonely. Mary squeezed her hand gratefully. She couldn't have done it without Tanya. That was a fact. A few days went by. Mary started her job. The first day was tough. She wasn't used to talking to people, to having to smile and be polite. But she slowly got into it. Her coworkers were friendly. 2 girls about her age and 1 older woman. They didn't pry, didn't ask too many questions, just helped her learn the ropes. Every night Mary came back to Tanya's exhausted, but with a sense of accomplishment. She was working. Earning. Becoming independent. Victor tried calling her a few more times from different numbers since she'd blocked his. But Mary never picked up. She just ended the calls. Then they stopped altogether. She found out why. Tanya saw the news online. Victor had been sentenced to 7 years in prison. For beating that woman, plus for previous incidents of violence that came out during the investigation. 7 years. He was locked up. He couldn't get to her. Mary didn't feel joy. More like relief. A huge, overwhelming relief. She was safe. At least for the next few years. The divorce went through quickly too. Patricia from the crisis center helped. Victor didn't even show up in court since he was already in custody. The court finalized the divorce without him. Mary got the official certificate and just sat down right there in the courthouse hallway, clutching the paper in her hands. That was it. It was over. She was free. Officially free. Tanya hugged her. Congratulations. Your new life has started. Yeah. It has. Scary, confusing, but hers. The first months of her new life felt like walking on thin ice. Every morning Mary woke up and for a moment didn't know where she was. Then she remembered she was at Tanya's, she was safe, Victor was in prison. Only then could she breathe out. Work helped keep her mind off things. 8 hours a day she stood behind the counter, helped customers, organized the clothes, smiled. The smile didn't come easily at first. For the first few weeks her face felt stiff whenever she tried to look friendly. But bit by bit, it got easier. Her coworkers turned out to be good people. Sophie, a chatty 25-year-old who was always telling funny stories about customers. Anna, quiet and serious, about Mary's age, who loved to read and sometimes recommended books. And Barbara, a woman of about 55 who'd been at the store for 10 years and knew every trick of the trade. One day, when it was just the two of them on lunch break, Barbara suddenly asked, "Mary, are you okay? You always seem so tense." Mary flinched. She hadn't expected that question. "I'm fine. I just get tired." Barbara gave her a long look, then nodded. "I get it. If you ever need anything, I'm here." If you want to talk. Mary realized Barbara suspected something. Maybe she'd seen the last of the bruises in those first days, when they hadn't fully faded. Maybe she just sensed it. But she didn't push, didn't pry. And Mary was grateful for that. Money started coming in regularly. Her first paycheck, $2,300 with commission, felt like a fortune. She held the bank card in her hands with her own earned money on it and could hardly believe it. Her own. Not Victor's. Not household money she had to account for down to the last cent. Hers. Earned by her. She gave Tanya $400 for living expenses, even though Tanya tried to refuse. Please take it. I can't just live off you. Okay, Tanya agreed. But only half. Save the rest. For your own place. Mary started saving. Every month. Half her paycheck. 2 months later, she already had enough to rent a room. She found a listing online. A room in a 2-bedroom apartment on the outskirts of town. The owner, a woman of about 60, rented out one room and lived in the other. The price was reasonable, $800 a month. Mary went to see it. The apartment was old, the furniture worn, but everything was clean. The room was small: a bed, a wardrobe, a desk. The landlady, Ruth, greeted her warily. You'll be living alone? No men coming over? You don't drink? Alone. And I don't drink. And there won't be any men. Ruth looked her up and down, then nodded. All right, we've got a deal. You can move in as soon as tomorrow. Mary moved in a week later. She didn't have much stuff. Tanya helped her buy the basics. Bed linens, towels, some dishes. Mary packed everything into 2 bags and brought it over. When she was left alone in her room for the first time, she closed the door and sat on the bed, overwhelmed by a strange feeling. Freedom and loneliness at the same time. This was her room. Her space. No one would barge in, start yelling, or hit her. But there was also no one around. No one at all. Mary lay back on the bed and stared at the ceiling. The silence pressed on her ears. At Tanya's place there had always been some sort of background noise. The TV, sounds from the kitchen, neighbors' voices. Here it was quiet. Almost too quiet. She pulled out her phone and called Tanya. So? Settled in? Yeah. It's fine. Just feels strange. That's normal. It always feels strange at first. But you'll get used to it. And remember, if anything, I'm right here. Thank you, Tanya. For everything. She felt better after the call. Mary got up and started unpacking. This was her home now. Temporary, rented, sure. But hers. Ruth turned out to be a quiet neighbor. She spent most of her time in her own room watching TV. Sometimes they ran into each other in the kitchen and traded a few words. No nosiness, no prying questions. Do you work, Mary? Yeah, at a store. Sales. That's good. My last tenant worked too. Then she moved out. Got married. Mary nodded and didn't take it any further. She didn't want to talk about personal stuff. Life settled into a rhythm. Work, home, sleep. On weekends, Mary went to Tanya's or to the crisis center. She started attending a support group for women who'd been through domestic violence. Patricia recommended it. The group met once a week. The sessions were led by Margaret, the same one whose number Dorothy had given her. There were about 8 to 10 women, all different ages. Each with her own story, but in the end they all sounded alike. Beatings, humiliation, control, fear. At first Mary only listened. She couldn't make herself speak. But then, at the 3rd or 4th meeting, when one woman was sharing a story very similar to Mary's, she suddenly couldn't hold back. Me too. That happened to me too. Everyone turned to her. Margaret gave her an encouraging nod. Tell us, if you're ready. And Mary did. Everything. From beginning to end. How she met Victor, how he slowly cut her off from everyone, how he started hitting her, how she stayed, how she finally ran. She talked and cried. Not because she pitied herself, but from relief. Because here, people understood. Here, no one said, "It's your fault, you should have left sooner." Here, they knew leaving wasn't that simple. After the meeting, one of the women came up to her. "Rebecca, around 40. Thank you for sharing. It helped me. I kept thinking I must be the only one, that something's wrong with me. And then I hear other people have the same thing. And I realize no, it's not my fault." Mary nodded. "I thought that too. For years I thought I was a bad wife, that I was the one pushing him. And then I realized no, he's the one who's sick. Not me." They talked a bit more, then hugged goodbye. The support group became an important part of Mary's life. There she could just be herself. Talk about her fears, about the nightmares that still came, about how she still flinched when someone opened a door too sharply or raised their voice. Margaret explained that it was post-traumatic stress disorder, a normal reaction to abnormal events. You went through trauma. Your mind is reacting. It's not weakness. It's a defense. But you can work with it. Mary started seeing her one-on-one too. Once a week, for an hour. They talked. Margaret asked questions, Mary answered. Sometimes she cried. Sometimes she was angry. Sometimes she just sat in silence, unable to speak at all. But each time, it got a little easier. The nightmares came less often. The fear loosened. She was starting to feel like a person again, not a broken doll. 6 months passed since the night she ran away from home. 6 months of a new life. A lot had changed in that time. Mary changed her hairstyle. Cut it shorter, dyed it a lighter shade. She wanted to look different, not like she did with Victor. When she saw herself in the mirror after the salon, she almost didn't recognize her reflection. Another woman was looking back at her. More confident. More alive. She got a promotion at work. Now she was the senior sales associate. Her salary went up to $2,800. Not exactly riches, but enough to live decently. Mary started buying clothes for herself. Not a lot, but things she actually liked. Before, Victor had controlled even that. This is too bright, that's trashy, that's not for a married woman. So she wore gray, black, nothing noticeable. Now she bought a red sweater. And a blue skirt. And a bright scarf. When she put it all on, she looked in the mirror and smiled. She liked it. For the first time in many years. She liked how she looked. Mary visited Dorothy once every 2 or 3 weeks. She'd go to her house, they'd drink tea and talk. The old woman asked about her work, her therapy, how she was doing. "Dorothy," Mary said once, "I feel like I'm starting to forget what I was like before. Before Victor. I was different then. Braver, I think. I used to laugh, joke around, be silly. And then he shut me down so much I completely forgot how to enjoy anything. And are you remembering now?" Little by little. Sometimes I catch myself laughing. Just because. Or I suddenly want something ice cream, for example, and I just go buy it. I don't ask permission, I don't look over my shoulder. I just do it. And it feels so good, you know? Dorothy smiled. I do know. The freedom to choose. Even in small things. That's the first thing abusers take away. And now you're taking that right back. Your right to choose. It's still scary sometimes. What if I mess up again? What if I pick the wrong person next time? You won't. Because now you know what to watch for. You've seen how violence starts. Control, jealousy, isolation. Next time you'll spot those signs right away. But will there even be a next time? Mary stared thoughtfully out the window. I'm not sure I even want a relationship. I'm fine on my own. That's perfectly fine too. You don't have to belong to anyone to be happy. The main thing is to be at peace with yourself. Mary nodded. Yeah, she wasn't ready for anything like that yet. She needed time. A lot of time to let her wounds heal. But then something happened. It was at the store, just an ordinary weekday. A man walked in. 35, maybe 40. Tall, glasses, nice face. He was picking out a birthday gift for his sister. I have no idea what to get, he said with a smile. Can you help me? Mary started showing him things, giving suggestions. He listened carefully, asked questions. Just a normal customer. But there was something very calm about him. He didn't push, didn't rush, didn't talk down to her. He was just polite. In the end, he picked out a nice blouse and paid. Thank you so much. You were a big help. You're welcome, Mary smiled. He left. And she forgot about him. But a week later he came back. This time he was buying something for himself. Again, he went straight to Mary. Sorry, it's just that you helped me so much last time. My sister liked the gift, by the way. Glad to hear it. They chatted a bit more. He introduced himself, Andrew. He was a programmer. Lived in a nearby neighborhood. And how long have you worked here? 6 months. Do you like it? Yeah, it's fine. The team's good. The conversation was easy, light. Andrew bought a shirt and left again. Sophie, who'd been watching from the side, walked up to Mary after he left. Mary, he's into you. Who? Mary didn't get it at first. That programmer of yours. He comes in here on purpose. Did you see how he was looking at you? That's nonsense, Mary brushed it off, but something fluttered inside. Could that be true? No, no way. He was just a polite customer. But Andrew came back a few more times. He always found some excuse to buy something, always went to Mary. Their conversations got longer. Mary found out he'd recently moved to this city for work, didn't know many people here, and felt lonely. Do you have family? He asked her once. Mary hesitated. Divorced. I see. Any kids? No. Same here. I was married too, it didn't work out. We split up about 3 years ago. Mary relaxed a little. So he'd been through it too. Though his divorce almost certainly hadn't looked like hers. One day Andrew came in and, clearly nervous, asked, Listen, would you maybe want to go somewhere sometime? Grab a coffee, maybe, or see a movie? Mary froze. There it was, an invitation. The first one in years. Inside, everything clenched up: fear, panic, the urge to run. I don't know, she managed. Sorry if it's bad timing. It's just, I like talking to you. If you don't want to, I totally understand. He spoke gently, without pressure, and it calmed her. He wasn't demanding, wasn't insisting. Just asking. I need to think, Mary said. Of course. Think about it. I'll come by in a couple of days, okay? He left, and Mary just stood there, not knowing what to feel. On one hand, it felt nice. For the first time, someone was showing interest in her. Normal, healthy interest, without pressure or control. On the other hand, fear. What if he turned out just like Victor? What if this was all an act, and then it would start all over again? That evening she called Tanya and told her everything. Mary, that's great. A man likes you. But I'm not ready, Tanya. I'm scared. It's normal to be scared. But you're not agreeing to marry him. Just go have a coffee. Just talk. See what he's like. And if something feels off, you say no. And what if he starts acting weird, trying to control you, getting jealous, pushing you, you'll see it right away. You know the signs now. And you'll leave. Mary thought about it. Maybe Tanya was right. Maybe she should try. Just talk to someone. Nothing more. At her next session with Margaret, Mary told her about Andrew. And you're afraid to start something new? Yes. Very. That's natural. After that kind of trauma, trust takes a long time to rebuild. But you know what I'll tell you? Not all men are abusers. There are normal ones. Good ones. Who know how to respect, support, and love without violence. How do you tell them apart? Watch how they behave. A healthy man won't cut you off from your friends and family. He won't monitor your every move. He won't be jealous of everyone around you. He'll respect your boundaries and your choices. He'll ask for your opinion instead of forcing his own. And if I get it wrong, then you'll leave. Just like you did once already. You have the strength, Mary. You've proved it. You're not the same woman you were 5 years ago. You're stronger. Mary thought about that. Maybe she really was stronger. When Andrew came in next time, she said, "Okay. Let's go have that coffee." His face lit up with a smile. "Really? Great. When is good for you?" "Sunday? I'm off that day." "Perfect. Let's meet by the mall at 2. "Okay." All week until Sunday, Mary was nervous. She went through her clothes, not knowing what to wear. She rehearsed conversations in her head. Thought about what to talk about and what she'd rather keep to herself. On Sunday she got up early, even though they weren't meeting until 2. It took her a long time to get ready. She put on that red sweater and a pair of jeans. Did her makeup. Just a little, neatly. She looked in the mirror. Not bad. She left the house half an hour early so she wouldn't be late. Got to the mall 10 minutes before 2. Waited, jittery. Andrew showed up at exactly 2. He was dressed neatly too, in jeans and a jacket. He smiled when he saw her. "Hi. You look really nice." "Thank you." Mary blushed. They went to a nearby cafe. Cozy place, soft booths, quiet music. They ordered coffee and desserts. The first few minutes were awkward. Mary didn't know what to say. But Andrew easily steered the conversation. He asked how her week had been and told a funny story from work. Gradually she relaxed. It was easy talking to him. He didn't interrupt, didn't try to dominate the conversation. He just listened, answered, laughed. They talked for more than 2 hours. Mary didn't even notice how the time flew by. "Do you need to go?" Andrew asked, glancing at his watch. "No, not really. But I probably shouldn't take up your whole day. I don't mind spending more time with you. Want to take a walk?" They left the cafe and walked through the park. October had already turned into November. It was cold but sunny. Leaves rustled under their feet. Mary walked beside Andrew and thought, this is nice. Just nice. Calm. He walked her to her bus stop. "I had a really good time," he said. "Maybe we can do this again?" "Maybe," Mary smiled. On the way home, her heart felt light. Her first date in so many years. And nothing bad had happened. Just a pleasant time together. Maybe Tanya was right. Maybe not all men were like Victor. They started seeing each other regularly. Once a week, on weekends. They went to cafes, the movies, walked around the city. Little by little, Mary got to know Andrew. He worked for a big company, loved sci-fi, played guitar. He never once raised his voice at her. Never tried to control or boss her around. When Mary said she was tired and wanted to spend the weekend alone at home, he accepted it calmly. "Of course, get some rest. Text me when you feel like meeting up." It was so unfamiliar. So normal. 2 months later, he tried to kiss her for the first time. They were standing by Mary's building, saying goodbye after another date. Andrew leaned in, and Mary realized what he was about to do. Inside, everything clenched. Panic. Fear. Memories of Victor's kisses, rough, demanding, never asking if she wanted them. Andrew must have noticed her reaction. He stopped. "Sorry. I didn't mean to scare you." "No, it's okay," Mary whispered. "It's just..." "Not ready yet?" She nodded. "I get it. It's okay. No rush. We've got time." He didn't get upset. Didn't push. He just hugged her lightly, like a friend. And let go. Mary went up to her room and sat on the bed for a long time, hugging her knees. She wanted to. She wanted to kiss him. But the fear was stronger. Fear that it would all start again. The violence. The control. The pain. But Andrew wasn't like Victor. Not at all. At her next session, Mary told Margaret, "I got scared." Just because he leaned in, she added. "It's stupid, right?" "It's not stupid. It's trauma. It doesn't disappear in 6 months. It needs time. And the right approach." "Did you tell him about your past?" "No. I'm ashamed." "You shouldn't be. If you want to keep building this relationship, he needs to know. So he understands why you react the way you do. And if he really is a good man, he'll get it and be patient." Mary thought about it. Margaret was right. She had to tell him. But how? She spent a long time working up the courage. Finally, at their next date, when they were sitting in a cafe, she said, "Andrew, I need to tell you something. About my past." He looked at her attentively. "I'm listening." And Mary told him. Not every gruesome detail, but the main things. That she'd had an abusive husband. That he'd hit her, controlled her, cut her off from everyone. That she'd run away 6 months ago. That she was still healing. Andrew listened quietly. When she finished, he stayed silent for a moment. Then he reached across the table and covered her hand with his. "Thank you for telling me. I'm really sorry you had to go through that. And now I understand why you got scared last time. I'm sorry I didn't think about it. It's not your fault. I just need time. We've got time. As much as you need. I'm not in a hurry." Mary felt tears sting her eyes. Tears of gratitude. He understood. He didn't judge, didn't say you should have left sooner. He just understood and accepted it. From that day on, their relationship grew even closer. Andrew was careful, patient. He didn't rush things. Mary slowly learned to trust him. It was hard, but she was learning. Another month passed. One evening they were at his place, watching a movie. Mary was leaning against his shoulder. It felt warm, safe. Andrew looked at her. "Mary, can I kiss you?" he asked. He didn't just go for it, he asked. Mary nodded. "You can." It was their first kiss. Gentle, cautious. No pressure, no demands. Just a kiss. And Mary felt good. For the first time in so many years, really good. When they pulled apart, she was smiling through tears. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what?" "For being you. For your patience. For everything." He hugged her, pulling her close. "Thank you. For giving me a chance." Her relationship with Andrew grew slowly but steadily. Mary was learning to trust him. Not all at once, but step by step. Each date was a test. She watched him, weighed every word, every gesture. Looked for signs he might turn out like Victor. But there were none. Andrew didn't check her phone. Didn't ask who she talked to or where she'd been. When Mary said she'd be working late or going to Tanya's, he just said, "Okay, text me when you're free." No accusations, no interrogations. He didn't try to isolate her from friends. On the contrary, he was the one who suggested meeting Tanya. "She's the friend who helped you so much, right? I'd like to meet her." The three of them met up at a cafe. Tanya watched Andrew carefully at first. She was as protective of Mary as she could be. But eventually she relaxed. Andrew was open, friendly, not trying to impress anyone or look better than he was. He just acted like himself. Afterward, Tanya pulled Mary aside. "Mary, he's a good one. Nothing like that other guy." "I know. But I'm still scared." "That's normal. But don't let fear destroy something good. Give him a chance. And give yourself a chance." Mary nodded. Yes, she had to give this a chance. Not everyone was like Victor. That winter, Andrew suggested Mary move in with him. He had a spacious, cozy 2-bedroom apartment. "You're paying $800 a month for a room. That's just throwing money away. I've got a spare room sitting empty. You can live there. Free. Or pay me something small if that makes you feel better, but nothing like what you're paying now." Mary panicked. Move in with a man? After everything she'd been through? It was too much. I'm not ready, she said honestly. I understand. It's just an offer. When you're ready, you will tell me. He didn't get offended. Didn't start pushing or guilt-tripping her. And that, strangely enough, helped Mary relax even more. Another 3 months passed. Mary kept going to therapy, working, seeing Andrew. Life flowed steadily. She had some plans now, some dreams. Before, she hadn't thought further than the next day. Now she could think about the future without that sick feeling of dread. One day, when they were walking in the park, Mary said, "You know, I've been thinking. Maybe I really should move in with you. If the offer's still on the table." Andrew stopped and looked at her. "Of course it is. Are you sure?" "Yeah." "Then move in. Whenever it's good for you." Mary moved in a week later. She still didn't own much. In a year, she hadn't had time to accumulate a lot. Andrew helped carry the bags and showed her the room. "This is where you'll stay. Set it up however you like. It's your space. I won't come in without asking." Mary looked around. Bright room with a big window. Bed, wardrobe, desk. Simple, but cozy. "Thank you," she said quietly. The first few days felt strange. Mary kept waiting for the catch. For Andrew to suddenly start demanding things, controlling her, limiting her. But he acted exactly the same as before. Calm, respectful. In the mornings he left for work earlier than Mary. He'd leave little notes on the kitchen table. "Coffee's ready, eggs are in the fridge. Have a good day." Sometimes he added silly drawings, cricket hearts or smiley faces. Mary smiled when she read them. In the evenings they had dinner together. Took turns cooking, or did it together. Talked about work, movies, weekend plans. Ordinary conversations of ordinary people. Sometimes Mary asked to be alone. She'd go to her room, close the door, read or just lie there listening to music. Andrew didn't get offended. Didn't knock on the door asking, "What's wrong? Why aren't you with me?" He just gave her space. One night Mary came home from work exhausted and on edge. She'd had a nasty run-in with a customary woman who yelled at her and accused her of bad service. Mary had barely managed not to burst into tears. At home she slammed the door, walked into the kitchen, and dropped into a chair. Andrew, who'd been working on his laptop in the living room, came out. "Rough day?" "Terrible." Mary rubbed her temples. "Sorry for being rude." "Don't apologize." "Want to talk about it?" She told him. Andrew listened, nodding. When she finished, he stepped up and wrapped his arms around her from behind. "That customer is just an idiot. You did great holding it together. I wouldn't have managed that in your place." Mary laughed through her tears. "Thank you. I really do feel better." Andrew kissed the top of her head. "Go lie down. I'll make dinner tonight." Mary went to her room and lay on the bed. Her chest felt warm. Andrew hadn't snapped at her for being in a bad mood. Hadn't said, "You're sulking again," or "Why are you whining?" He just listened and supported her. That's how it's supposed to be in a healthy relationship, she thought. Another month went by. Mary realized she was ready for more. They'd been together for 6 months and still hadn't crossed the line into physical intimacy. Andrew hadn't rushed her. He'd been waiting for her to be ready. And one night, when they were watching a movie on the couch, Mary suddenly leaned over and kissed him. Not him kissing her, her kissing him. For the first time, she was the one to make the first move. Andrew froze for a second, then kissed her back. Gently, carefully. They kissed for a long time. Then Mary pulled back and looked him in the eyes. "I want this. I'm ready to be with you. For real." Andrew brushed his hand over her cheek. "Are you sure? We can wait longer." "I'm sure." He took her hand and led her to the bedroom. Everything happened slowly, gently, with so much care. Andrew kept asking, "You okay? It doesn't hurt? Want me to keep going?" It was nothing like what she'd had with Victor. With Victor, everything had been rough, selfish, with zero regard for her feelings. This was love. Real love. When it was over, Mary lay next to Andrew and cried. Not from pain, not from her because she was happy. Because she'd finally realized that it could be like this too. That intimacy didn't have to be violence, that it could be something beautiful. Andrew held her, stroking her back. You okay? Yeah, she sniffled. Just. Thank you. For everything. From that day on, they slept in the same room. The second bedroom freed up, and Andrew turned it into an office. Life was falling into place. Mary felt happy. For the first time in many years. A job, a home, someone she loved. Everything she dreamed of but had been too afraid to even hope for. But sometimes the past still came knocking. The nightmares hadn't disappeared entirely. They came less often, but they still came. In them, Victor found her, broke into the apartment, and she couldn't get away. She'd wake up in a cold sweat, gasping for air. Andrew would wake up too, hold her close, and whisper soothing words. It's just a dream. He's far away. He can't get to you. You're safe. Mary would press herself against him and slowly calm down. Yes, she was safe. Victor was serving his sentence, with 6 years still to go. A long time. Long enough for her to build a life he'd never be able to tear her away from. But the fear still sat inside her. What if he got out early? What if he found her? What if? At her next session with Margaret, Mary told her about these fears. They're intrusive thoughts. Part of the post-traumatic stress. They can follow you for years. But you can work with them. Margaret taught her breathing techniques and grounding exercises. When the fear surged, she had to focus on the present moment. Feel the floor under her feet, the texture of the fabric in her hands, listen to the sounds around her. Come back to the here and now instead of that old nightmare. It helped. Not instantly, but it helped. A year passed since the night Mary ran from Victor. A whole year of a new life. She was working as a senior sales associate now, earning a good salary, living with a man who loved her, going to therapy, seeing her friend. She'd become herself again. The Mary she was before Victor. Maybe even better. Stronger, wiser. She still visited Dorothy regularly. The old woman was genuinely happy for her. See, Mary? I told you. It would all work out. Because of you. If it hadn't been for those 3 words. 3 words are nothing. What matters is that you heard them. And found the strength to act. Mary thought for a moment. You know, I want to help others. Like you. To tell women there is a way out. That they can leave and still have a life. Dorothy nodded approvingly. That's a wonderful idea. You can volunteer at a crisis center. Or just share your story. That helps a lot of people. I'll talk to Patricia. Maybe they'll take me. Mary really did talk to her. Patricia responded with enthusiasm. Of course, we need volunteers. Especially those who've been through it themselves. You'll be able to understand the women, support them. Come by and we'll talk details. That's how Mary became a volunteer at the crisis center. Once a week, on Saturdays, she went there to help. She talked to women who had just left their abusers. She told them her story. Showed them that life after violence was possible. The first meeting was tough. Mary stood in front of a group of 5 women. Different ages, similar stories. And she didn't know how to begin. Hi, she started. My name is Mary. A year ago I ran away from my abusive husband. He hit me for 4 years. I stayed. I was afraid to leave. I thought it was my fault, that I just needed to try harder. But one day he almost killed me. And I realized if I don't leave now, I never will. The women listened closely. Some nodded, recognizing themselves. I was lucky. On the bus, while I was running away, a stranger sat down next to me. She whispered 3 words, "He'll kill you." Those words snapped me out of it. I realized this wasn't just fighting or our personalities clashing. It was a real threat to my life. One of the women, very young, maybe 25, wiped away tears. How did you cope after? With the loneliness, the fear? It was hard. Very hard. The first months I was scared to even go outside. I was afraid he'd find me. I had nightmares every night. But I got help. From a friend, from a therapist, from a lawyer. I went to group therapy, worked on myself. I found a job, started earning my own money. And little by little, the fear loosened its grip. Not completely, but it got easier. Do you have someone now? Another woman, older, asked. Yeah. There's a man in my life now. A good one. Nothing like my ex. We've been together for 6 months. And you know what? I had to learn how to trust all over again. It was scary. But it was worth it. After the meeting, that young woman who'd asked about loneliness came up to her. Thank you for sharing. It gave me hope. I thought I'd never have a normal relationship again. That I was broken forever. You're not broken, Mary said firmly. You're strong. You left. That's the most important thing. The rest gets easier. Not overnight, but it does. They hugged, and Mary felt she was doing something important. Helping. Just like others had once helped her. In the spring, Andrew proposed. They were at home having dinner when he suddenly took out a small box. Mary, I want to be with you forever. Will you marry me? Mary froze. A proposal. Marriage again. Something clenched inside her from fear. She looked at Andrew at his kind eyes, his nervous smile. He was anxious, afraid she'd say no. And suddenly Mary realized she wasn't afraid. She wasn't afraid of being someone's wife again. Because Andrew wasn't Victor. And never would be. Yes, she said. Yes, I will. Andrew jumped up, hugged her, spun her around. They were both laughing and crying at the same time. They had the wedding in the summer. Simple, without any big show. Only close people were invited. Tanya, Mary's parents who came from another town, a few of Andrew's friends, Dorothy, Patricia, and Margaret. Mary stood in a plain white dress next to Andrew and thought, this is it. A second chance. Real love. A real family. When they exchanged rings, she glanced into the hall and saw Dorothy. The old woman was smiling, dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief. Their eyes met. Mary silently mouthed thank you. Dorothy nodded. After the ceremony there was a small reception. Everyone laughed, danced, congratulated the newlyweds. Dorothy came up to Mary when she stepped outside for a minute to get some air. I'm so happy for you, Mary. Thank you. For everything. If it hadn't been for you. I just gave you a nudge. You were the one who made the decision. You were the one who found the strength. They hugged. Mary felt an overwhelming gratitude for this woman. A stranger from a bus who had become her guardian angel. You know, Mary said, now I sometimes ride around the city too. Just look around. In case I see someone who needs help. I want to be like you. Dorothy smiled. You already are. You help at the center, you share your story. That's what matters most, to pass on the good you once received. The evening went perfectly. Mary danced with Andrew, laughed, talked with guests. She was happy. Truly, deeply happy. When everyone left, she and Andrew were alone. They sat out on the balcony, looking at the city at night. Are you happy? Andrew asked. Very. Me too. Thank you for giving me a chance. For trusting me. Thank you. For your patience. For understanding. For your love. They kissed. A long, gentle kiss. Mary looked at the city lights and thought about how far she'd come. A year ago she'd been running through these streets in a panic, with no idea what would happen next. And now she was sitting here next to the man she loved, feeling safe. Life can change in a single moment. 3 words from a stranger. He'll kill you. Those words saved her. Gave her a chance to start over. And she took that chance. Didn't let it slip away. Used it, and now she was helping others do the same. A few months later, Mary found out she was pregnant. It was unexpected. They hadn't planned to have kids so soon. But when she saw the 2 lines on the test, she realized she was happy. Andrew was over the moon. He hovered around her, took care of her, worried about every little thing. You shouldn't overwork yourself. Maybe you should quit your job. No, Mary said firmly. I don't want to sit at home. I need my job. I need my independence. Okay. Whatever you say. He didn't push. Didn't insist. He just accepted her decision. Mary kept working until her 7th month. Then she went on maternity leave. Time flew. Her belly grew. Andrew talked to it, stroked it, sang songs. Hey, baby. It's your dad. We already love you so much and can't wait to meet you. Mary watched him and thought how lucky she was to have met this man. How lucky their child would be to have a normal father. Loving, caring, without violence. The birth went fine. Mary had a little girl. Tiny, with dark hair and huge eyes. What should we name her? Andrew asked, holding their daughter in his arms. Faith, Mary said. After Barbara from the store. She helped me a lot when I was just starting out. Faith. Beautiful name. The baby opened her eyes and looked at them, and Mary felt so much love, so much tenderness, she wanted to cry. This was her daughter. Her family. Her life. The life she'd built from scratch. After they left the hospital, they went home. The sleepless nights started. Feedings, diapers. Mary was exhausted, but she was happy. Andrew helped. He got up at night, rocked Faith while Mary rested. You should sleep, you have work tomorrow, Mary would say. She's our daughter. I'm just as much a parent as you are. Tanya came to visit, brought gifts, played with Faith. Mary, I'm so happy for you. You have everything now. Yeah. Everything. Dorothy visited them too. She brought a knitted blanket for the baby. She'd made it herself. What a little beauty, she cooed, looking at Faith. I wish you happiness, kids. Thank you, Mary hugged the old woman. For everything. If it weren't for you, none of this would exist. Not Andrew, not Faith, not this happiness. It would, Dorothy objected. Just later. You're a strong woman, Mary. You would have made it without me too. But it was easier with you. Dorothy smiled and patted Mary's hand. The important thing is that you made it. And now you're helping others. That's the best thanks there is. Mary kept volunteering at the crisis center even with a small baby. She brought Faith with her, settled her in a carrier. The women who came for help saw her with an infant and understood life goes on. After the nightmare, you can build a family, have children, be happy. One woman, very young, maybe 23, said after a meeting, I thought I'd never have kids. Thought I was too broken. But I see you and I realize everything's possible. It is, Mary confirmed. You just have to give yourself time. And not be afraid to ask for help. Another 2 years passed. Faith was growing. A bright, cheerful girl. Mary went back to work, but not as a sales assistant this time as a manager at the same store. Jessica offered her the promotion, and Mary agreed. Andrew kept working as a programmer, and things were going well. They saved up and bought a bigger apartment. A 3-bedroom in a nice neighborhood. Theirs. Not rented, their own. When they moved in, Mary stood in the empty living room, unable to believe it. This was their home. Their nest. The place where their daughter would grow up. Where they would be happy. What are you thinking about? Andrew asked, hugging her from behind. About how long a road we've traveled. We? I have. And you with me. I'm glad I walked it with you. Mary turned to him and hugged him. Me too. Life wasn't perfect. Sometimes she and Andrew argued, like any couple. Sometimes Mary was tired and snapped. Sometimes the sadness rolled in and old fears crept back. But now she knew that was normal. Life isn't a fairy tale. There are hard days. The important thing is that she has someone beside her who supports her, doesn't judge, helps. And most important, she herself is strong. She went through hell and survived. Built a new life. Became happy. One evening, after Faith had already fallen asleep, she and Andrew were in the kitchen drinking tea. "You know," Mary said, "I sometimes think about that old lady. Dorothy. How many lives has she saved with her words? Dozens? Hundreds? Probably hundreds. I want to be like her. To keep helping. Even when I'm old. You already are. At the center, with the support group. That matters. I know. But I want to do more. Maybe I'll write a book. About what I went through. So other women can read it and know there's a way out. Write it. I'll help." Mary smiled. Yeah, she would. Someday. She'd tell her story from start to finish so others wouldn't be afraid to leave. So they'd know that there is life after abuse. She looked out the window. Outside, the evening city was getting dark. Somewhere out there were other women trapped in abusive relationships. Some of them might be working up the courage to run right now. Some were still enduring, hoping it would somehow fix itself. Mary spoke to them in her mind, "Don't be afraid to leave. Yes, it will be scary. Yes, it will be hard. But you'll get through it. I did. And you will too. Look for help. Speak up. Don't stay silent. And remember, it's not your fault. It never was. The only one at fault is the one who raises a hand against you. Only him. You deserve love. Real, healthy love, without violence. And you will find it. You will. Just give yourself a chance." Another 3 years passed. Faith was 5 now. A sharp, curious little girl with huge eyes and an endless stream of questions about everything. She started kindergarten, quickly made friends with the other kids, loved drawing and dancing. Mary was still working as a store manager. The salary was good enough that they didn't have to pinch pennies. She and Andrew were saving for Faith's education and were planning to enroll her in music school in a couple of years. The girl was already showing an interest in music. Volunteering at the crisis center had become an inseparable part of Mary's life. Every Saturday she went there, ran meetings with the women, shared her story. In 3 years she'd heard dozens of others. Some women she saw only once. They came, listened, left, and never came back. Others she walked alongside for months, helping them through divorce, job hunting, and recovery. Sometimes, women went back to their abusers. Those were the hardest moments. Mary tried to talk them out of it, explained that nothing would change, that the violence would only get worse. But she couldn't always convince them. Some believed the promises that he'd change, that it was the last time. "Don't blame yourself," Margaret told her. "You can't save everyone. You can only show them the door. Whether they walk through it or not is up to them." Mary understood that logically. But her heart still hurt. They visited Dorothy as a whole family: Mary, Andrew, and Faith. The old woman was aging. She was close to 80 now, but her spirit was still strong. She just couldn't ride around the city anymore. Her legs hurt, her health wasn't the same. "I've done my shift," she said. "Now it's your turn, you younger ones. You keep going." Faith adored Dorothy. She called her Grandma Dorothy, even though they weren't related at all. The old woman knitted toys for her, told her stories, taught her how to bake pies. "Mom, why does Grandma Dorothy live alone?" Faith asked once. "She doesn't have children of her own, honey. But she helped a lot of people in her life. She was like a mom to those who were hurting. Then she has lots of kids. Just not by blood." Mary smiled. "You're exactly right. Lots of kids." Life flowed calm and steady. Mary got used to that calm and started to see it as normal. The past felt like a distant dream. A terrible one, but still a dream. Victor was in prison. He had 2 years left on his sentence. Mary almost never thought about him. Almost. Sometimes, on especially anxious nights, she dreamed that he got out. Found her. Broke into the house. Then she would wake up in a cold sweat, grab Andrew's hand, and check that the door was locked. "It's just a dream," Andrew soothed her. "He's far away. He still has 2 years left. And when he gets out, we'll be ready. We've got a restraining order. If he comes near you, he goes right back in." Mary nodded, calming down. Yeah, they were ready. She wasn't that defenseless woman she'd been 7 years ago. But fate decided otherwise. It happened on a completely ordinary September day. Mary left work a little early. They'd had inventory at the store, and everyone was let go ahead of time. She was walking toward the bus stop where she usually caught her bus. It was warm and sunny. Mary was thinking about what to make for dinner, how Faith's day at preschool had gone, and trying not to forget to buy milk. And then she saw him. He was standing on the other side of the street by a newsstand. His back was turned, but Mary knew instantly. His posture, his height, the shape of his head. 7 years had passed, but she would have recognized him out of 1,000. Victor. Her heart dropped into her stomach, her knees buckled. Mary froze in the middle of the sidewalk, unable to move. This can't be happening. He still has 2 years. 2 years. Victor turned, and Mary saw his face. He'd changed. He looked 10 years older, even though only 7 had passed. His face had thinned, his cheeks were hollow, and gray streaks ran through his hair. His clothes were shabby, an old jacket, worn-out jeans. He looked gaunt, lost. Their eyes met. Mary saw him freeze. Recognize her. His face twisted. First surprise, then something like joy. "Mary," he shouted and stepped toward her. Panic. Pure, animal panic. Mary spun around and ran. Not thinking, not understanding where. She just ran, the way she had 7 years earlier. Footsteps thudded behind her. He was chasing her. "Mary, wait. Hold on. I just need to talk." She ran faster. People on the street turned to stare, puzzled. Mary reached an intersection and bolted across on a red light. Cars slammed on their brakes, horns blaring. She ducked into the first alley she saw. Pressed herself against the wall, breathing hard. Her heart was pounding, her hands were shaking, her vision was going dark. No, no, no. This can't be happening. He can't be here. He's supposed to be locked up. 2 more years. Mary pulled out her phone. Her hands were shaking so badly she missed the buttons several times. She finally found Andrew's contact and hit call. Ring. Another ring. A third. "Pick up, please, pick up." "Hello?" "Mary, what's wrong?" "I saw him," Mary gasped. "Victor. He's here. He saw me. He ran after me." "What? Where are you?" "I don't know. Some alley. Not far from work." "I'm coming. 10 minutes. Stay there, don't go out. And call the police." Mary hung up and dialed 911. She got through and stumbled through an explanation. The dispatcher said they'd send a unit and asked her to stay put. Mary stood pressed against the wall, praying Victor wouldn't find her. The alley led into a residential courtyard. Empty, quiet. Only the distant sound of kids playing. The minutes dragged by painfully slowly. Mary jumped at every sound, every rustle. Finally, Andrew appeared in the yard. He was running, looking around. "I'm here," Mary called from the alley. Andrew rushed to her and wrapped her in a tight hug. "Are you okay?" "Yeah. He didn't catch me." "But Andrew, how is he even here? He's supposed to still be inside." "I don't know. Maybe they gave him early release. Or parole. It doesn't matter. What matters is you're alive, you're safe." A few minutes later, the police arrived. 2 officers stepped out of the car and came over. "You the one who called?" Mary nodded and told them everything. About Victor, about the fact he was supposed to be in prison, about the restraining order. "Do you have any paperwork on the restraining order?" "At home. But it's on file. You can look it up." One of the officers radioed the station and requested the info. A minute later, they confirmed the restraining order was valid, and Victor legally wasn't allowed to come within 100 meters of Mary. All right. We'll try to find him and sort this out. Can you describe what he looks like, what he was wearing? Mary described him. The officers wrote it down and promised to take action. Andrew drove Mary home. She stared out the window in silence the whole way. Everything inside her was trembling. 5 years. For 5 years she'd lived in peace, believing the past was behind her. And it had all come back. With one look, one encounter on the street. At home, Faith ran to meet them with a happy squeal. Mom. Dad. Look what I drew. Mary pulled herself together and smiled. Show me, honey. They sat on the couch, looking at Faith's drawing. The little girl chattered nonstop, telling them about preschool and her friends. Mary listened with half an ear. Her thoughts were miles away. That evening, after Faith went to bed, Mary sat in the kitchen with Andrew, drinking valerian drops. Her hands were still shaking. How could he get out early? She asked the air. Andrew grabbed his laptop and looked it up. Here, look. Early release this year. Commission decision. They shortened some sentences for good behavior. Looks like he was one of them. So he's free now? Officially? Yeah. But the restraining order is still valid. He has no right to come near you. And if he does, then what? The police will come and take him in. And then they'll let him out after 15 days. And he'll come back again. Andrew took her hands in his. Mary, don't spiral. We'll handle it. If we have to, we'll move. Change cities, jobs, whatever it takes. But he is not getting you. Ever. Mary leaned into him, pressing her face into his shoulder. She believed him. But the fear was stronger than her faith. That night, of course, the nightmares returned. Victor was chasing her through dark streets. Grabbing her hair, her throat. Choking her. Mary woke up screaming, and Andrew held her, calming her down. It's just a dream. He can't get to you. I'm here. I'll protect you. In the morning, the police called. They'd found Victor and brought him in for a talk. He claimed the encounter had been an accident, that he wasn't looking for Mary, that he just happened to be walking by. We reminded him about the restraining order, the detective said. Explained that if he violates it, we'll press charges. He promised to stay away. But I still recommend you be careful. Change your routes, don't walk alone, keep your phone on you at all times. Mary thanked him and hung up. So they'd warned him. But what good were warnings? Victor always did whatever he wanted. The next few days were a nightmare. Mary went to work, dropped Faith off at preschool and picked her up, but she was constantly looking over her shoulder. Every man in a crowd seemed suspicious. Every sound behind her made her jump. Andrew tried to be with her as much as he could. He walked her to work in the mornings and met her in the evenings. He even hired a private security guard, a man who discreetly tailed Mary during the day while Andrew was at the office. It felt like living in a cage again. Only now it wasn't a husband locking her in, it was her fear of him. A week later, Victor showed up again. Mary was leaving the store after her shift. It was evening, getting dark early. She was walking toward the bus stop, scanning her surroundings. The guard, Stephen, was a few steps behind her. And then Victor stepped out from around the corner. Mary stopped dead. He was standing right in front of her, blocking the way. Mary, come on, wait. I really need to talk to you. Same voice as before, a little hoarse, with that familiar demanding note. We have nothing to talk about. Mary tried to go around him, but Victor stepped sideways, blocking her again. Just wait. I want to apologize. You get that? I was wrong. I get it now. In prison I had time to think. I realized what a bastard I was. Please forgive me. Mary looked at him and didn't believe a single word. How many times had she heard those apologies? Hundreds. Thousands. After every beating. I'm sorry, baby, I didn't mean it, it won't happen again. And then it did. Over and over. Step away, she said coldly. We have a restraining order. You're not allowed to come near me. I don't give a damn about that order. Victor's voice jumped into a scream. You're my wife. You were mine. I have the right to talk to you. I'm not yours. We've been divorced for 7 years. I have another family now. Another husband. A daughter. Leave me alone. Victor went pale. A daughter? You have a daughter? None of your business. By who? Some bastard? Did you forget you were my wife? He stepped forward, reaching toward her. Mary flinched back. And that's when Stephen appeared. He stepped between them, his broad back blocking Mary from view. Back off, man. Don't make this a problem. Victor froze, sizing him up. Stephen was huge, close to 6'6", built like a boxer. Victor, gaunt and worn down by years in prison, clearly didn't stand a chance. This is none of your business, Victor hissed. It is. I'm protecting this woman. And if you don't walk away right now, I'm calling the police. And since she has a restraining order, you are looking at charges. You want to go back inside? Victor stood there a bit longer, glaring at Stephen. Then he turned sharply and walked off, throwing over his shoulder, This isn't over, Mary. We'll talk again. Mary was leaning against the wall of the building, trying to catch her breath. Stephen turned to her. You okay? Yeah. Thank you. I'm calling the cops. This is a violation of the order. Yeah, call them. The police arrived quickly. Mary gave her statement. Stephen backed it up as a witness. Victor was picked up the next day and charged administratively. 15 days in jail for violating the restraining order. 15 days. That's it. Mary understood when he got out, it would start again. He wouldn't let go. He would never let go. That evening she sat in the kitchen with Andrew and cried. I can't live like this. Constantly looking over my shoulder, being afraid. It's like being back in that cage. I've spent 7 years building a life, and with one appearance he's ruined everything. Andrew stroked her hair. We'll leave. We'll move to another city. I'll find work there. Faith will go to a new preschool. We'll start over. But my job, your job. Faith is used to her friends. And besides, if he wants to, he'll find us. He will. Not necessarily. It's a big country. If we move far enough, change our numbers, he won't be able to track us. Mary wiped her tears. Are you really ready to drop everything for me? For us. For our family. You and Faith, you're worth more than any job. We'll make it. Mary hugged him, holding on tight. Thank you. Thank you for being here. They started planning the move. Andrew sent out his resume to several companies in other cities: Seattle, Denver, Austin. Programmers were needed everywhere. He had a good shot at getting hired. Mary told Jessica that she might have to quit soon. Jessica was upset, but she understood. Mary, you're an amazing employee. But I get it. Safety comes first. If you do leave, I'll give you an excellent reference. Mary also told Tanya. Mary, maybe you don't have to. Maybe he'll just calm down and leave you alone. He won't. You know what they're like. Abusers don't let go. To them, an ex-wife is property. And you don't just let property walk away. Tanya sighed. I know. I'll miss you, though. I'll miss you too. But what can we do? They hugged. Mary felt like her heart was being torn in two. Running again. Leaving everything behind again and starting from scratch. When would it end? She visited Dorothy that same day and told her what was going on. The old woman listened silently, nodding. He got out early. Found me. Keeps following me. We've decided to move to another city. Dorothy stayed quiet for a long time, staring out the window. I understand, she said at last. Sometimes that really is the only option. But you know what I'll tell you, Mary? You can run your whole life. Or you can stop and fight back. Mary looked at her in surprise. Fight back how? He's not going to stop. The restraining order doesn't stop him. The police don't stop him. What can I do? You can stop being afraid. Fear is what gives them power. They smell it and use it. But if you show him you're not afraid anymore, that you're ready to stand up for yourself, they back off. Not right away, but they do. But I am afraid. I'm terrified. I know. And that's normal. But think about it, if you leave, you'll always be looking over your shoulder. Always living with the thought that he might find you. But if you stay and show him you're not the Mary he knew 7 years ago, he might realize he's lost control. And walk away. Mary thought about it. Dorothy was right in a way. If she ran again, fear would move in for good. But if she stayed and proved she wasn't broken, that she had protection, that she wasn't alone. That evening she talked to Andrew. I've been thinking. Maybe we don't have to run. Maybe we should stay and fight. Andrew studied her. Are you sure? No. But I don't want to run my whole life. I want to live here, in my city, with my job, with my friends. I don't want him controlling my life anymore. Okay. Then we stay. But I'm tightening security. Stephen will be with you all the time. And we'll put cameras on the house, an alarm system. If he comes near us, we'll know immediately. Okay. They stayed. They didn't run. They chose to stand their ground. When Victor got out after his 15 days, he showed up by the store again. But this time Mary was ready. She walked out of work and saw him across the street. He was just standing there, staring. He didn't come closer. He was probably afraid of getting arrested again. Mary stopped and looked straight at him. She didn't look away. Didn't run. Just stood there and stared. Victor took a step toward her. Mary pulled out her phone and held it up so he could see she was ready to call the police. Victor froze. They stood like that for a few seconds. Then he slowly turned and walked away. Mary exhaled. Her hands were shaking, but she'd done it. She hadn't run. She hadn't panicked. She'd shown him she wasn't that helpless woman anymore. It happened a few more times. Victor would show up, stand there, stare. Mary ignored him and calmly went about her business. Stephen was nearby. Andrew was just a call away. She knew she wasn't alone. Little by little, Victor started coming less often. Once a week, then once every 2 weeks. Then he disappeared altogether. Later Mary found out he'd left town. Moved back in with his parents in another state, where he'd grown up. Word was he kept drinking, slid all the way down. But Mary didn't care. The only thing that mattered was that he was out of her life again. And, she hoped, for good. If you liked this story, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support inspires us to keep bringing you new, captivating stories every day. We wish you all the best and a life full of happiness.